IELTS listening is the most problematic area for our students. Nowadays, there are many reasons, several reasons for it. Basically, our learners they never go through the listening in their academic career. Although they study a lot about English, but that is mostly about reading. So today we are going to talk about the listening, which is very important aspects of IELTS. And as far as IELTS is concerned, our students are mostly facing problem when they are going through the listening. So this first lecture here we will talk about the different four sections of IELTS listening, and we will try to orient our student with those four sections so that they may attempt it properly. So before starting it, uh, I'd like to ask you to please subscribe my channel Mob English, and you can learn about IELTS, about CSS, about all other aspects of English language, essay writing, report writing, communication skills, and there are also few playlists which are related to the social aspects of the life. So this is a broad channel. You can subscribe it for your betterment and for learning English. So let's move on today with our listening, and we have put few sample exercises uh, of each section here so that you can understand the real crux quite easily. So first of all, I'd like to introduce with the IELTS listening. It's total 40 minutes task. So there are the four sections. You have to listen all together for the 30 minutes, and 10 minutes are transferring your answer on the answer sheet. What about section 1? Section 1 is usually about everyday conversation between two persons. One-to-one conversation between two persons. Here the listener is usually looking for the conversation, for the names, for dates, for telephone numbers, for prices, these kind of things. So this conversation is between two persons, that may be on reception counter or a telephonic conversation where you are trying to get any information or form filling, like all these kind of things, where you use names, dates, and telephone numbers. So let's go through the sample of the section 1. Here is the sample of section 1. So before playing its recording, I'd like to ask you just have a look at these questions 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, so that you orient yourself with this one. It would be easier for you to find out the answers from the recording. So let's start.
You should answer the questions as you listen, because you will not hear the recording a second time. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 6.
Hello?
Oh, hello. I wanted to inquire about hiring a room in the village hall for the evening of September the 1st.
Let me just see. Yes, we have both rooms available that evening. There's our main hall, that's got seating for 200 people. Or there's the Charlton room.
Sorry?
The Charlton room. Charlton. That's got seating for up to 100.
Well, we're organising a dinner to raise money for a charity, and we're hoping for at least 150 people. So, I think we'll go for the main hall. How much would that cost?
Let's see. You wanted it for the evening of September the 1st?
Yes, that's a Saturday.
So from 6 p.m. to midnight, that'd be £115. That's the weekend price. It's £75 on weekdays.
That's all right.
And I have to tell you, there's also a deposit of £250, which is returnable, of course, as long as there's no damage. But we do insist that this is paid in cash. We don't take cards for that. You can pay the actual rent of the room however you like, though. Cash, credit card, cheque.
Oh, well, I suppose that's okay.
So we have gone through three questions, and if you have noticed, I was just bringing my cursor over there where the information was. Now you can find out the answers here. Uh, Here we go. Here, this is Charlton, Charlton. Whatever I told you here, the names and the spellings of the names. Then the second thing is 115, and here is the cash. So this is about first section, that is usually about the conversation where you are filling the form or you're getting some particular information. So here you are using a kind of scanning technique, we can say. Let's move on to the second section. Second section is one person speaking. Most of the time the major second section is about telling the directions. So one person is talking about the direction of different things, as you can visualize in this picture. So let's start the recording and the audio, and then you can understand what it really is. So let's start the recording so that you can learn. So before starting the recording, you should just focus on the questions. Now let's listen.
Give you some idea of the layout of the farm. The building where you bought your tickets is the new barn immediately to your right. And we're now at the beginning of the main path to the farmland. And of course, the car park is on your left. The scarecrow you can see in the car park in the corner beside the main path is a traditional figure for keeping the birds away from crops. But our scarecrow is a permanent sculpture. It's taller than a human being, so you can see it from quite a distance. If you look ahead of you, you'll see a maze. It's opposite the new barn, beside the side path that branches off to the right, just over there. The maze is made out of hedges, which are too tall for young children to see over them, but it's quite small, so you can't get lost in it. Now, can you see the bridge crossing the fish pool further up the main path? If you want to go to the cafe, go towards the bridge and turn right just before it. Walk along the side path and the cafe's on the first bend you come to. The building was originally the schoolhouse, and it's well over 100 years old.
So if you were looking at the cursor, you can understand it quite easily. These are the answer. Means scarecrow is F, just on the corner, and he was talking about the beside the main path. And about the maze, he was saying just beside the side path and opposite to the newborn. Here it is. And cafe, he was talking about the fish pool. And when you are coming to the right side of the fish pool on the first instance, beside the side path, you can find it. So here, this is the right way of finding the answer. This was section 2 where you were getting the directions. So you need to be well focused in this one particularly. Now let's move on to the third section, which is about the conversation about educational situation. So here you will find out a conversation about educational situation where two people are talking about the educational situation or about their project or about the studies they have done, about the project, about the thesis, whatsoever it may be, but about that any educational topic they are talking about here. So let's have a sample of this one. Just go through these questions, have a look at them, and I'm going to play the recording.
Okay, Greg. So I finally managed to read the article you mentioned. The one about the study on gender in physics.
About the study of college students done by Akira Miyake and his team. Yeah, I was interested that the researchers were actually a mix of psychologists and physicists. That's an unusual combination.
Yeah. I got a little confused at first about which students the study was based on. They weren't actually majoring in physics. They were majoring in what's known as the STEM disciplines. That's science, technology, engineering,
And math. Yes, but they were all doing physics courses as part of their studies.
That's correct. So, as I understood it, Miyake and co. started from the fact that women are underrepresented in introductory physics courses at college, and also that on average, the women who do enroll on these courses perform more poorly than the men. No one really knows why this is the case.
Yeah, but what the researchers wanted to find out was basically what they could do about the relatively low level of the women's results. But in order to find a solution, they needed to find out more about the nature of the problem.
Right. Now, let's see if I can remember. It was that in the physics class, the female students thought the male students all assumed that women weren't any good at physics. Was that it? And they thought that the men expected them to get poor results in their tests.
That's what the women thought, and that made them nervous, so they did get poor results. But actually, they were wrong. No one was making any assumptions about the female students at all.
Anyway, what Miyake's team did was quite simple, getting the students to do some writing before they went into the physics class. What did they call it?
Values affirmation. They had to write an essay focusing on things that were significant to them, not particularly to do with the subject they were studying, but more general things like music or people who mattered to them.
Right. So the idea of doing the writing is that this gets the students thinking in a positive.
Okay, let's have a look at the answers. Here, the first one is C, mean they basically study about science and technology, and the boy, he spoke about mathematics, he added that thing. Then the second thing was the B option, the third was also the B option, and here it was the C option, something that was important to them personally. So this was about the third section. Now let's move on to the fourth section. Section 4 is basically one person speaking. Usually IELTS journal and even IELTS academic, the listening is almost same, and that is designed for academic purpose. So you need to make up your mind whether you can take the notes of a lecture or not, you can understand or not. So for that purpose, one person's presentation or project presentation or lecturing of a professor, you can find out in this one. So one person is speaking and he's talking about a particular topic. So that's about the fourth section. Let's have a look at the fourth section here. So here you can find out all these things. Have a look at the questions, and I'm going to play the audio for you.
I've been looking at ocean biodiversity, that's the diversity of species that live in the world's oceans. About 20 years ago, biologists developed the idea of what they called biodiversity hotspots. These are the areas which have the greatest mixture of species. So one example is Madagascar. These hotspots are significant because they allow us to locate key areas for focusing efforts at conservation. Biologists can identify hotspots on land fairly easily, but until recently, very little was known about species distribution and diversity in the oceans, and no one even knew if hotspots existed there. Then a Canadian biologist called Boris Worm did some research in 2005 on data on ocean species that he got from the fishing industry. Worm located 5 hotspots for large ocean predators like sharks and looked at what they had in common. The main thing he'd expected to find was that they had very high concentrations of food, but to his surprise, that was only true for 4 of the hotspots. The remaining hotspot was quite badly off in that regard. But what he did find was that in all cases, the water at the surface of the ocean had relatively high temperatures, even when it was cool at greater depths. So this seemed to be a factor in supporting a diverse range of these large predators.
So it's a bit tricky for the students because all the three sections you can find out the information was coming in the sequential order. But in the fourth one, this is a lecture based, so the things were not coming in the sequential order. So when he started here, it was by the Boris form. So overall, the topic by topic, it is coming as far as these subheadings are concerned. This is coming in a sequence. But when it comes to a broader discussion, you can find out uh, that this one here has changed. So he firstly, the conversation, this was you have done it. Then when you come to this topic here, he was talking about food and then surface. So this was all about it. So this was about the introduction of IELTS listening tests, and this has four sections. Section 1, 2, 3, you have uh, 30 minutes for listening and 10 minutes for transferring the answers. So hopefully this video is fruitful for you, because it is giving you the view when you are going in the exam, that what kind of questions, what kind of things are expected in the each section. Now for the further queries you can ask me, and I'll give you the further hints to solve this section as well. So far it's enough for you now, and you may find all other things in the upcoming lectures, and you will find out the hints which are easier for you. मोस्टली स्टूडेंट्स ने उर्दू में कहा है, लेकिन अब लिसनिंग है तो इसीलिए इंग्लिश में बोला है, और आपकी प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व हो जाएगी. आप मोब इंग्लिश को सब्सक्राइब करें और अपनी फीडबैक देखते रहें. थैंक यू वेरी मच फॉर नाउ. टेक केयर ऑफ़ योर